Hello gamers, I'm still over here tied up playing the classic movie tie-in games, and today's one is one that I have played before and also very highly rate. Not only me, however, I believe it is rated as one of the best PS2 tie-in games, at least according to Google, and that is King Kong. Now, I do also believe this is possibly the best movie tie-in game. Well, not the best, as it's clearly second best to the greatest game ever gamed. GeForce, love those goddamn hamsters, man. But a very good second place. Now, going into this, I remember very little about the game or the movie it's based on. So I thought I wouldn't rewatch the movie and just go straight into the game and see if there's any points of the game that make no sense since you don't know the movie, if that makes sense within itself. So what I would like to talk about first when it comes to Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie, which is the game's full title. What a name. One massive plus to this game is that it carries over the cast from the movie, and considering it's a Hollywood cast in a video game, the performances don't seem horribly bad. Now, there is a chance they just ripped the lines straight from the movie. The only reason I don't think they did that is because they could have just ripped more lines, as you will be hearing the same characters say the same lines over and over again, which gets really annoying real quick. Like, I think I heard Jimmy say this island is like a nightmare 3 or 4 times within 10 minutes. And I didn't hear him say anything else throughout the game. And then there is the screaming. Oh my lord, the screams. Carl, the director, gets Anne to scream at the start of the game for like a test footage run.
Now? You want to start filming now?
Sure, why not? That's why we're here. We'll start with some screams. Okay, are you ready? And action. Scream, Anne! Scream for your life!
And they use that scream over and over again, even halfway through the game when she understands that Kong is trying to protect her. When you're playing as Jack near them, she will still scream as loud as possible. And then all the characters, no matter what I do, would scream at Jack, the character you play as. And well, my name is also Jack, and hearing people scream at me the second I do something even slightly wrong or take the smallest amount of damage, well, that just reminds me a little bit too much of high school for my liking. So moving on swiftly from possible childhood trauma, how's the game look? Well, the game opens up with a scene taken from the movie, which looks like, well, a movie. And as you first take control of Jack after disembarking the boat, the game looks really good for a 2005 video game. The only downside to the game in terms of its graphical capabilities is whenever you go into a cutscene between each sort of levels, it's like it uses the game's default graphics if you were to smear the screen with Vaseline. Now, this is clearly a choice they made, a stupid choice, but a choice they made nonetheless. The only reason I can think of them doing this is sometimes it shows events that Jack didn't see in person. Well, Jack or the other playable character within the game. That being the one and only massive gorilla boy King Kong himself. Now you may say that of course you play as Kong in a game about himself, but I was shocked that you would become the king of the jungle. And Kong basically plays how you would imagine he would play. He is a massive, unstoppable monster who don't take shit from nobody, being able to pick up trees and use them to absolutely body any dinosaurs or humans alike. And also he has different controls to Jack, which I actually like a lot personally. Like, you wouldn't expect Kong to manipulate his muscles the same way that a human would do. So why would they control the same? Whoever made this game did good. Let's just go look up who made King Kong, Peter Jackson, the official game, whatever it's called. And it was it's Ubisoft. I take back everything I said good about this game. I'm joking, only slightly. The game did come out under 2005 Ubisoft, and that's like kind of good Ubisoft, at least better than current Ubisoft, so that's something. As we all should do, let's leave Ubisoft in the dust and talk about the story. Now, as I mentioned before, I haven't watched the movie in a very long time. So, does this game hold up without the knowledge of the movie? Well, the game opens with the director, Jack Black's character Carl, talking about a movie they are going to make, and how they are currently rushing to get onto the boat and head off to this magical island he had heard of, Skull Island. Also implying that he is in a fair amount of trouble and also dead. And his hopes is that this movie is his way out. So after a sweet life on the deck of the boat cruising to Skull Island, they arrive, where despite the rough seas, Carl demands that they go onto the island right away, post-haste. When they finally get to the land, they start to make their way up the rocky coast, with Carl stopping to get camera shots every so often. When, after being attacked by a bunch of monster mutant-like crabs, they get separated from each other. Jack, the writer of the story and the main character, and Anne, the actress within the movie, gets separated, then being taken in by the locals, but not in the good way, as the locals then tie them up to an altar to be sacrificed. And while tied up, what do we see apart from Kong himself appearing on the screens? As Kong takes Anne and Jack somehow gets free from his binds and takes off after Kong to save Anne. Not too sure what he plans to do with like a 60-foot tall gorilla, but I'm sure he has a plan. After a long trek through the island forestry, where we fight monsters and natives alike and get reunited and lose our friends a couple more times throughout the game, Anne's relationship with Kong starts to grow as she sees Kong as not the bad guy per se, but more of a misunderstood giant. Which, I mean, yeah, he is like 100 feet tall, but the whole group get back together where they hide under a shelter from a dinosaur as Anne attempts to call Kong for help. It's also at this point Carl is no longer with the group. Whilst escaping, the gang fall down a large ravine. During the fall, his camera and all the rolls of film he had shot of the island so far, including a sick aerial shot which he got whilst being kidnapped by a giant monster bird thing, had all been damaged. So also leading to the fact that maybe he was in debt, he got in a bit of a depressive slop and decided to turn back and make his own way back to the boat. However, back in the current time, Anne had got the attention of Kong one last time and he showed up to save her and the rest of the crew, but also takes her again, making his way deeper into the island to his home. Jack puts the last surviving members of the crew onto a seaplane as he goes after Anne, finding her next to the sleeping giant. As a large water-based snake monster appears and Anne lets out another gut-wrenching, ear-hurting scream, waking up the Sleeping Beauty. As he goes to her defense, giving Anne and Jack time to escape, making it all the way back to the boat after getting through a bunch more monsters and native inhabitants of the island, with Kong following close behind, helping them the whole way. However, as Anne and Jack arrive at the boat, Kong catches up with them after clearing out a village of the natives to help them, as the people on the boat, led by Carl, then gas Kong, and Carl kidnaps Kong and takes him back to New York to put on a show for the rich socialites of New York City, which goes about as well as you may think, with a large flashing light from one of the cameras setting Kong off as he rips out of his chains and escapes, where he hits the mean streets of New York in an attempt to find Anne, which he does once again, and then climbs to the top of the Empire State Building, where we get a classic scene of Kong swatting away aeroplanes as they are attacking him, till he is shot one too many times, falling to his death. And then, in return for beating the game, we get to hear one of the cheesiest lines of all time.
Move along, folks. Show's over. The airplane's got him.
It wasn't the airplanes. It was Beauty killed the beast.
So, does this story work as a standalone game without the movie? Well, pretty much, yeah. The only part we were left unknown, why Kong is so protective over Anne, but I mean, that's just large gorilla things. I don't think we would understand anyways. So I definitely understand why people say this is one of the best, if not the best movie tie-in games out there. It is a pretty good time. Now, is it a groundbreaking game? No, but then most games are not groundbreaking games. Not every game can be Red Dead Redemption 2. And also, I still haven't seen the movie, but I did watch a 6-minute AI Reddit recap style video of the plot. And well, the game seems to differ a little bit from the story of the movie. Like in the movie, they do more within New York City. Like there's a Kong and Anne dance on a frozen lake segment of the movie, which I'm very upset we didn't get to do the boogie as the Kong, but hey. In the movie, they also seem to be a lot more involved than being the crew of the boat. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe Ubisoft was given a copy of an earlier script to base the game of, or like very early storyboarding for the movie, as I know that happened for the Star Wars 3 video game as well, as there are scenes in that game that don't actually happen within the movie. But anyways, you guys have heard enough from me on King Kong. If you like Mr. Kong and you liked this video, leave a like. Also, consider subscribing. Either way, I'm out. Peace.